Hello, everyone. Welcome. Today, we're going to be talking about ache management. Welcome back to our YouTube channel. We're going to actually be talking to a group of people live, and you get to see the recording of that, which is actually kind of fun because it's very interactive and I make all kinds of crazy mistakes. But I think it's also about you getting the impression that you need to about the products that you need to solve, to bring you solutions that you need. So today, it's all about ache management. And there's a lot of different things that people may be achy about. You can, if you're live, you can tell me in the chat some of the things that you are achy about and that you'd like to have essential oil solutions for. Otherwise, if you're watching on YouTube afterwards, leave me some comments below. I'd love to hear about what it is that you're using essential oils for, specifically for aches or discomforts that you may be having anywhere in your body. So I'm going to share my screen with you so you can take a look at what some of the things that I prepared, because I love the idea of using essential oils. All of the essential oils that I'm going to be talking about are readily available. They are extremely easy to use, and I think you're going to find some things that are going to make your life just a little bit easier. So ache management with essential oils, we got to talk about some basics, so some singles. We're going to talk about some blends, and we're also going to talk about a few capsules or internal options. Several of the oils I'm going to talk to you about are also ingestible, and as we know, we have basically 3 ways that we can use our oils: aromatically, topically, and internally. And many of the ones that I'm going to talk to you about today are for internal usage as well. So the picture that I'm showing you here is just really a little boy's foot, it looks like to me, or a child's foot. And there's a mom putting some peppermint oil on the child's foot. As we know, the peppermint roll-ons are pre-diluted, which makes them excellent for using in, specifically for children. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that when we're using essential oils for ache management for children, we want to make sure to do a patch test first, right? We don't want to put anything on their skin that might be a little bit too warm for them, give them any sort of discomfort. So we're going to talk about that a little bit, but I just wanted to give you my first quick slide that'll give you an idea of what can we use and what can we use specifically for, really for children. So aromatics really, whoops, I did not mean to do that. I'm sorry, everyone. I think I turned off the, gosh, sorry about that. That was weird. I don't know how I did that. Aromatics can be used, let's see if I can do this a little bit better. Oh. There we go. That looks better. Okay, so you could do a lot more with aromatics than just kind of ease your mind or relax yourself. They do get chemically absorbed. As we know, essential oils get chemically absorbed through the skin, through the nose, through the lungs, and then travel through your limbic system and then the network of nerves in your brain. When we think about ache management, we're thinking about a couple of different things. We're thinking of decreasing inflammation at the spot of the inflammation, and then we're also talking about using the nervous system to begin to reduce the inflammatory response. And overall, some things are, let's call them quick aches, things that happen to us. We bump our finger or our knee, and then we've got some sort of discomfort there. Other things can be more long-lived, and we want to make sure that we're using products that are effective for either one of those. So if you understand what the heck I'm talking about, do me a favor, just give me a thumbs up, because I want to make sure that we're all on the same page. Here we go. Okay, there we go. And as we know, essential oils have been used for thousands of years for every different sort of thing, but I want to believe that they were used on a regular basis to relieve any sort of physical discomfort. The studies, though, that have been done about essential oils, those really have been done within the last, I would say, 40 years. And the studies that we're seeing coming out of some of the big universities really far surpass anything that has been done in the past. In addition, the studies that have been done in the last, say, 40 years or even the last 10 years in volume are greater than anything that's been produced in the previous, 490 years. So we're getting a real movement towards scientific evidence and testing, and also that empirical evidence that we need to be able to say to our friends and family, yes, this is not something just that I use, but that you can use too and get really great use out of it. Okay, number one, I want to talk to you about the single oils. So that's important. We talk about singles and blends. And you know me, I love the blends, but I want to talk to you specifically about singles first. We have 37, I think it's 37 right now, essential oils, single essential oils that are safe for internal use. So when we're using oils for internal purposes, you're going beyond just applying to the skin or inhaling them. They're going to be actually diffused, if you will, through your organ systems. There's several ways, as you know, to be able to ingest essential oils. You can take them in capsules, you can put them in water, you can even cook with the essential oils, blending them into foods. Sometimes with children, you may be able to make something like, I don't know, a lemonade, for example, and then add a drop of lemon essential oil into that beverage so that the beverage is just a little bit better, has a little bit more depth. And that's what essential oils, using essential oils in cooking really is all about. Topical application, we're talking about, as usual, for aches. We're going to be talking a lot about topical application, actually putting the oils exactly where we need them. But I'm also going to talk a lot, I want to talk to you a little bit about dosing for external use. So more complicated than perhaps just body lotion. We've all used body lotion in the past. You want to make sure that, especially when we're talking about smaller bodies or older friends or family members, that we're using appropriate amounts of essential oils on them. Number one is, I always like to use that rule of thumb between 1 and 4 drops at any given time. It's extremely tempting to take a bottle of oil, especially if we're feeling discomfort, and just kind of shake it into our hand and apply it everywhere, but it's really not the best model of usage. Keep your oils always, when you're applying them, your external usage between 1 and 4 drops. The other thing you've got to remember is that you're going to be using carrier oils. Carrier oils can be any sort of vegetable oil that contains some fat in it. As we know, essential oils do not contain fatty acids. They are volatile compounds. They're called oils because they have a lighter molecular weight than, say, water does. So, you know, as many of us know, if you ever dropped a drop of essential oil into a glass of water, you'll immediately see it rise to the top, and it'll take a good stir or some other emulsification method, maybe adding salt or something else, to make the essential oil just basically disperse within, or a good stir or a good shake to make the essential oil be dispersed within the liquids. So when we talk about using essential oils topically with a carrier oil, you want to make sure you're using a shelf-stable fatty oil. Doesn't mean that when we dilute our oils that they become, our essential oils, that they become less effective. If anything, it means 2 things. Number one is that the oils are glued into place in that spot, and that they're not going to evaporate as quickly. So it doesn't reduce their efficacy. If anything, it makes the application more long-lived for you, because many essential oils, because they are volatile compounds, will evaporate quickly topically from the skin. And that process can allow them not to soak in as much as we want them to. If my elbow has an ache, I want to make sure that I'm getting that long-term soothing effect of whatever essential oil that I'm applying to that region, and making sure that it sticks. Now, I usually use fractionated coconut oil, but there are other essential oils that you could be using, including things like almond oil or jojoba oil or grapeseed oil, or even olive oil in a pinch from your cabinet. I think any of those will work for you. And you have to maybe experiment a little bit. You may also be out of your house and you don't have any fractionated coconut oil, or you just happen to be you have some other oils that you want to use up. Use what you have. You can always test if an oil is a fatty oil by just rubbing it together between your fingertips. And that's going to give you the sense, is this greasy or is it not greasy? As we know, many essential oils, if you drip them into your hand and you rub them for even a few seconds, there's no greasy sensation in the fingers at all. That's the difference between fatty and not fatty essential oils. Okay, so let's get started right away talking about some of the essential oils that I like best for soothing. Top on my list is black pepper. Why do I like black pepper? It has the ability to reduce inflammation and also has a wonderful scent to it. One of the things about the essential oils that I'm going to talk about is that they all have different sorts of properties and we can use them for different reasons. So one of the things that I like about the spices is that the spices can help us to have sort of what I'm going to call a deeper effect of our on our achiness and our muscles. The spices, for me at least, are very warming, and so when we're using the spices, we're incorporating them into our routine of ache management, and black pepper for me would be top on my list. I'm looking for a note here. That's why I'm kind of smushing around. And I want to make sure that I have it for you before I keep going. I have a note about, whoops. My note does not want to appear, folks. I'm sorry. Okay. So I'm winging it tonight. Here we go. Oregano. Many of you I know use oregano for other purposes, including inflammatory response when you're having any sort of bacteria or viruses, internal bacteria or viruses that are disturbing you. You can also use it for stomach upset, but one of the things about oregano that makes it specifically effective is that it will work in a general sense in terms of inflammation. So if you're a person who has inflammation on a regular basis, this is not something that you bumped your elbow and you have inflammation. We're talking usually about older people that would have this over a longer period of time. They would be feeling achy, maybe in their joints. Oregano can be a wonderful way to relieve any sort of stress on the joints. However, we also know that oregano is very hot. So when you're using oregano, dilute, dilute, dilute. Now, many of the oils that I'm going to be talking about can be applied directly, but we want that long-lasting effect on our skin. How do we get it? We've got to dilute our essential oils. But consider using essential oils that perhaps are out of the mainstream for ache relief, because I think sometimes we tend to reach for the same thing again and again. I'm going to talk about some old tried and true favorites in about a minute. And many of you are going to be nodding your head and saying, yeah, that's a really great thing. But I'm going to challenge you today in this particular presentation to look at some oils that you maybe haven't looked at before. Eucalyptus. Now, eucalyptus, interestingly enough, when I was looking at some of the studies, had a lot of studies about anti-inflammatory response. I usually think of eucalyptus specifically for respiratory, but there was a lot of information concerning the reduction of inflammation in the body. Now, you can use eucalyptus really in two ways. You can either inhale it, which can relax some of the tissues of the body, which is also going to decrease your inflammation, or you can use it topically. You can also blend it with other essential oils. It tends, at least for me, to have a very pleasant sort of relaxing, soothing aroma that I think is what really makes it, gives it the anti-inflammatory response that we need when we're having some sort of a flare up, if you will. You can also layer your essential oils. So if you're considering making your own blend or your own roller bottle, you can add things like your oregano, like your black pepper and your eucalyptus into a bottle. There are tons of recipes out there. I'm going to give you a couple at the end, but I think using different essential oils and challenging our body on a regular basis, especially when we're talking about something as common as aches, because everybody has aches, this is a great way for us to kind of move forward on the timeline, if you will, of relieving that discomfort and inflammation. Okay, let's talk a little bit about rosemary. One of the things I like about rosemary is it's been used for millennia for memory. I don't usually think of rosemary for aches, but what I like about rosemary specifically is it is extremely valuable and versatile. And many of us already have it in our oil bags. It might have been something that you got as a freebie, or maybe you purchased a kit and it was in there, and you may be thinking, really, how do I use rosemary? So I would be adding rosemary. And the other profile that I like about rosemary is it is an evergreen in many climates. So you've got that little plant behind there, behind the actual bottle of rosemary. The idea of evergreens or any sort of perpetually green plant is it's going to have a strength and a depth that other oils do not. Rosemary tends to linger on the skin a little bit longer than some of our more volatile essential oils, making it specifically effective for anti-inflammatory use. You can add your rosemary into a blend, a topical blend. It also is one of our ingestible essential oils, so you can feel free to use rosemary in one of your blends. So I'm going to take a 2-second questionnaire here. I think I have the chat open, and tell me in the chat, what are you thinking about rosemary? Have you used some of these essential oils? Have you used rosemary? Have you used black pepper? And tell me what it is that you're using. Don't tell me about the blends yet, because we've got a lot more sharing to do, but specifically about rosemary, I'd love to be able to hear it. Okay. Our next, thank you everyone. Thank you for your great comments. Next on the hit parade is peppermint. Peppermint contains menthol, which has that minty cooling effect. With those of you who are living with any sort of irritable digestive system effects that can also cause aches, I would highly recommend peppermint. I would take it internally. I would be taking it in water. I would take some of the gel caps that doTERRA sells, but I would make sure I was incorporating peppermint into my regular routine. Recent studies have shown that people who go for colonoscopies, or if they take a peppermint gel cap about 4 hours before the procedure, actually do better during the procedure than those who don't. Why is that? Because peppermint acts as an anti-inflammatory. And when we're going for something like a colonoscopy, many times what we have to do, and if you don't know what a colonoscopy is, it's a procedure that is used a lot in the US for after the age of 50 to basically make sure that there are no intestinal polyps and no intestinal other sorts of disturbances that could make you sick. How about that? What's been shown with a colonoscopy is taking the peppermint oil 4 hours before, specifically the gel cap, allows the bowel to kind of reduce in inflammation, because you take these very powerful liquids usually beforehand to clean out the bowel. And also you have a doctor who's using a mechanical instrument, right? So the combination of the two can actually be very irritating to the patient. The peppermint calms down the bowel sufficiently so that not only is the patient more comfortable, doctors are saying that allows them to get a better view when they're actually doing the procedure. So if you know anybody who's going to have that procedure, please encourage them to use peppermint. But as a general rule of thumb, you can use your peppermint with your massage oils or a fractionated coconut oil onto your temples, the top of your head, the back of your neck, anytime you're feeling head or neck tension. That's some of the biggest and most popular ways that it gets used. I know sometimes when I'm driving long distances, I use it as a pick-me-up, but if I'm feeling like I've had a little bit too much coffee and I'm feeling achy as I'm driving, I'll often take even something as small as a peppermint beadlet, squish it in my fingers, and then kind of apply it to my head wherever I'm feeling discomfort. Okay, let's talk about our next essential oil, our Aroma Touch. I actually love Aroma Touch. I think it's one of the best ones that you can possibly use for aches and discomfort. I always loved it, but it was one of those things that I kind of kept in the back of my cabinet, and I've started to put it into a regular rotation. It includes things like cypress, marjoram, peppermint that we just talked about, basil, even grapefruit and lavender. So it's got kind of warm, rich smell to it. Many of you know that it's used during the Aroma Touch technique. And doTERRA is making a real push now over the next, I think we're going to be doing this for the next few years, but we've been doing it now for many months, talking more and more about why Aroma Touch is so important. And as you know, when Dr. Hill went out on the road over the last, say, 6 months or so, he talked a lot about Aroma Touch hand technique, and many of the regional events that we saw actually explore the use of Aroma Touch technique to reach out to people perhaps that you hadn't seen for a while, or members of your team or your family. Making that connection by touching another human being can be so incredibly powerful. Aroma Touch has a couple of different things in it that I really like. When we talk about cypress that's in there, it can actually help to calm the nervous system. So we're having feelings of nervousness, and often aches can make us feel that way. This is never going to go away. How am I going to be able to do the things that I want to do? How am I going to solve this problem that I have? Can make us feel anxious in addition to achy. And that's what cypress helps to combat. The lavender in there does the same thing. The grapefruit can actually give us a little bit more mental clarity. So there's some essential oils in there that are extremely powerful. And I'm going to encourage you to use blends wherever you can. One of the reasons why I love blends, essential oil blends, specifically the essential oil blends from doTERRA, is that they are chemically formulated to be the same every single time. And Aroma Touch is no different. If you are a person who's ever received an entire body Aroma Touch technique, so on your back and your feet and so on, you'll know the powerful effects of an Aroma Touch massage. If you've only been able to experience the hand massage, I think sometimes they can be just as powerful. And really the idea of connecting with another human being in that way, I think is so very genuine. Last but not least, if you don't know what I'm talking about, or you're thinking, what's Aroma Touch? It is a type of massage technique that was developed by Dr. Hill, who's the medical director for doTERRA International. And it has profound benefits, both I'll say physically, emotionally, and mentally. And many of the effects of the Aroma Touch are long-lived. So in that moment, you may feel relief from something that you're experiencing in your physical body, but that the essential oils continue to kind of unwind that inflammatory response. And I think that's what makes it so effective. So next on my hit parade is Yarrow Pom. Interestingly enough, this is, as we know, one of our newer essential oil blends, Yarrow being that yellow fluffy flower, and Pom being pomegranate oil. So the Yarrow and the Pom together are really crafted to give us that anti-aging effect. Why is that important when we're talking about aches? Obviously, if we're able to kind of wind back the clock, we're going to feel better in our skin and better in our muscles and bones. The active botanical compounds are going to help us to have a healthy inflammatory response. Many people use Yarrow Pom, not just for aches topically, they do take it internally. You can put it into a capsule, and it is wonderful for the circulatory system. So when you're thinking about any reason that your circulatory system might be sluggish, include your Yarrow Pom in your regular routine. It does come in capsules, but I know for some of you listening to me, you may not have that as part of your regular product lineup, so you'd have to order it specially, but use your Yarrow Pom right out of your bottle. You can take it internally. Clary Sage. Okay, so here's an oil that I have to say I always forget, but Clary Sage has been used even since the Middle Ages, specifically for soothing the skin. It's also wonderful hormonally. If you're having aches because of hormones, Clary Sage can be a wonderful way for you to alleviate some of those aches. You can mix a few drops with a carrier oil, massage it on sore body parts or anything that's feeling crampy or discomfort. You can also dilute it a little bit in a cup of liquid for a restful night's sleep. So consider also taking Clary Sage internally. It has that mix of herbs and flowers, but it is a single plant. It is not a blend. It is a single plant. Okay, let's talk about clove oil. And some of you may be thinking, ooh, clove oil, I don't want to apply that on my skin. It's going to be too hot for me. You may not want to apply it on your skin, but clove oil has been used for centuries, maybe even millennia in dental care. You can do a couple of things. So if you're experiencing dental aches, you can apply this along your gum line. You can add it to your dental floss and gently floss between your teeth, applying the clove oil right onto the dental floss. Now, I cannot tell you that it will take away your cavities or it will give you an automatic root canal. It will not. But while you're waiting for something to heal in your mouth, or maybe you've had some dental work done and you want it to make sure that it's staying clean and fresh and also reducing some of the inflammation, clove oil can be wonderful. However, I would encourage you not to use your finger. The reason is that your finger tends to be a blunt instrument. It's a little chubby, those fingers, and you can get a lot more oil on your gums and on the inside of your mouth than you probably want to. Please use something like a cotton swab. Gently touch the cotton swab to the top of the bottle or drip a single drop on there. And then using a mirror, don't just kind of root around there. Touch exactly where it is you want that clove oil to go. You're going to feel immediate relief. The other thing that I would suggest, if you're having any sort of dental issues or you're having even dental work done, brush your teeth with an additional drop of clove oil. It's going to take out some of the plaque. It's going to keep your teeth super clean. And as I said, clove oil has been used by dentists for hundreds of years. So you're not inventing anything new. If you're at all concerned because you are going to have some sort of stitches in your mouth, take your bottle of clove oil right to your dentist and tell him, would it be okay if I applied this around? And he'll make sure that you're doing it the right way for you and your particular condition. Last but not least, you can use clove oil in a glass of water and give yourself a good refreshing mouth rinse. And I think at least that last use, give it a good stir before you rinse out your mouth, can actually reduce a lot of mouth inflammation. Okay, supplementing. Okay, we tend to think of aches and pains as being something that's either chronic or immediate, but your health sometimes and your inflammatory response, if it's kind of functioning at subpar, can be improved by effective supplementation. And that's where LLV comes into the picture. High quality supplements like LLV can help us with recovery and inflammation reduction with our vitamins, minerals, omegas, and also our antioxidants in our alpha CRS. We have the opportunity to kind of build the body back up into a really healthful state. Sometimes we just recover more quickly when we're more healthy. And other times, if we are feeling like, I haven't been taking my supplements lately, we can make sure that we begin to bring the body back into good health so that if something happens to us, we're able to bounce back and the body responds quickly. I love my supplements. I take them every single solitary day. I'm going to talk to you about a couple of other things that I take, additional internal products that I think if you're having any issues with aches can be really good. Okay. We all love this, right? I hardly even have to talk to you about Deep Blue. There's a couple of things that I love about this entire product line that make it special for me. Number one is because it has internal use and topical use, I tend to reach for it more and more. My newest favorite is the Deep Blue Sick, which came out about 6 months ago. Just a wonderful, handy product. When I first got it, I thought, where have you been all my life? And then I started to use it. What I love about it is the smell is actually a little bit milder than the Deep Blue Rub. And certainly the application allows me to take the Deep Blue Stick just about anywhere. Now, the size of the stick is only 1.69 ounces or 48 grams. What does that mean? You can take this on a plane. Now, I came down, as I mentioned to you, I'm in Houston, and I have a very small suitcase with me because I didn't want to check bags this time. And I was debating, can I take it? Can I not take it? And then I saw the size of it and I thought, I can. And I've been so grateful that I've had it with me. We're doing a lot of walking and visiting and kind of out and about every day. And as many of you know, I hurt my hip about, I want to say 6 months ago. I'm going through some physical therapy for it. It is much, much better. But if I abuse it, if I walk around in maybe bad shoes or high heels or something, it kind of, it says, Elena, no, don't do that to me anymore. I'm so grateful that I'm able to carry my Deep Blue stick with me. And if I didn't have it with me, I'd probably have to, I can't carry the Deep Blue rub tube. Could I carry the packets? Yes. Could I carry a small bit squeezed into a small bottle? Yes. Could I carry one of the roll-ons or even the small bottle of Deep Blue? Yes. So my only option, of course, is not the stick, but I really love the stick. It's amazing. The other thing that I've pictured here are the Deep Blue capsules. I use the Deep Blue polyphenol capsules all the time. And throughout my recovery, I was using them originally on a daily basis because I had so much distress, or sometimes even twice a day. Now I'm using them a little less frequently, and I'm using another combo, which I'll mention to you in a minute. But the Deep Blue polyphenol capsules, I often use the stick or the rub or the capsules with Copaiba. I'm not going to mention Copaiba specifically because I want to show it blended with other things. I love Copaiba because I feel like it is the silent partner, if you will, for so many essential oils. And if you can blend your Copaiba essential oil with your Deep Blue products or your Copaiba capsules with your Deep Blue products, you really can wind up with a specific solution for you. So if you, I know you're all just Deep Blue lovers, because if you're listening to this presentation, what's not to love? But it is a wonderful solution for every single solitary thing that we do that can cause or will cause inflammation. My last point about Deep Blue, you can take the Deep Blue polyphenol complex as a substitute for another oral analgesic. What do I mean? Again, bumped my elbow, I have a pain. The other day, actually, I was visiting my mom. And many of you know my mother lives in assisted living, and there was a counter right at the check-in area where they have a receptionist or a concierge, I don't know. And I put something down on the floor to sign in the book, because you have to sign in as a visitor. And when I went to stand up again, I hit the marble counter. My head hit it right here. Let me tell you, I saw stars. I had to sit down and put ice on because it was not pretty. It didn't bleed, but it was super painful. But I immediately took my Deep Blue complex, because I happened to have some in the car. I put some Deep Blue on my head and I sat with ice for about 20 minutes and I felt much, much better. When something like that happens to you, a shock to the body, take a Deep Blue capsule, take a Copaiba, and I'm going to show you a third one that I really love. Okay, turmeric. You've got to use your turmeric in conjunction with other things. Now, let's say I'm a person, right now I have a hip injury, although it's much, much better. Or maybe you know an older person. Take my mother, for example. She's a person who's had knee pain for many, many years as a result of aging and deterioration of cartilage. She takes the turmeric capsules and the Copaiba capsules and the Deep Blue capsules every single day as part of her daily regimen. So she's taking two turmeric, 2 Deep Blue capsules, and then 1 Copaiba in the morning, and then repeating that again in the night. So I love that 1-2 punch. Now I know this image says take 1 to 2 capsules each morning and then 1 to 2 capsules each night. Absolutely, that's a wonderful way to do it. But if you have someone who's in chronic discomfort, combining your products really can make them so much more effective. The other thing that you can do is you can combine your turmeric and your Copaiba, or you can combine your turmeric, your copaiba, and your deep blue and apply that topically to any area where you're experiencing discomfort. I'm hoping you're liking these combinations because for me, these combinations are life-saving. I have heard people say, oh, I'm not sure, should I take these together? Yes, take them together. They really are a 1, 2, 3 punch that you would not get, I think, if you took each product individually. However, if you have a light discomfort, maybe you don't need those all together. But I'm talking about really something that's extremely painful or something that really is making you feel just not like yourself over a long period of time. Okay, hot baths. How many of you have taken hot baths to relieve sore muscles using either Epsom salts, or you can see here we've got the body scrub. Sitting in a warm bath can relax muscles, especially muscles that have been stressed during excuse me, have been stressed during exercise. Quick and effective way for you to relax your muscles is to allow the warmth. I gotta take a sip. When you see my glass, you're all gonna laugh. Look what I'm drinking out of, like literally a plastic Tupperware. But that's all I could find this morning. I'm not in my own house. So I'm drinking iced coffee out of a giant Tupperware. Okay, that's a little better. If you don't want your bath to be slippery, right? Don't add any additional oil to your bath. Use your Epsom salts. And the other thing that somebody just taught me, which is so incredibly cool, you can actually take a little bit of milk, add your essential oils to the milk, and the fat of the milk will disperse the essential oils, and then you can add that into your bath. Mind blower. So that's another tip. And you can use, I think you could use any kind of milk that had a little bit of fat in it. So you could try a soy milk or an almond milk, any kind of milk that has a little bit of fat. But I thought that was a really cool tip. What else do I have for you here? So just as a reminder, and I know you know this, you are in charge of your wellness. I've got a quick recipe for you. If you had an achy head coming on, right? You can mix your lavender, your eucalyptus, and your rosemary in equal amounts. And then you can, with a carrier oil, and then carry that around. I would probably throw a couple of drops of Aroma Touch in there. Blending your oils and making something custom for you, especially if you're someone who has repeat aches, you begin to know what's the thing that brings you the most relief. I've got one more. Sometimes if we experience a burn, the skin can be very, very sensitive. Using a mixture of aloe vera gel with the 3 oils that are on the screen, the lavender, the peppermint, and the frankincense, can cool down the skin, can help to heal the skin, and also bring down the inflammatory response. So we've talked a little about aches of the head, aches of the muscles, aches of injuries, quick injuries. We've talked about aches for after sun. We've talked about internal aches, things like chronic aches of our digestive system. Think creatively when you think of aches, especially if you're trying to spread the word. We don't diagnose people. We try to put our ideas and concepts on a grander, on a higher plane, if you will, bringing them up to body systems or bringing them up to general solutions. But the idea of reducing inflammation of all kinds is a super powerful one. And the faster you learn that concept, the more effective and the more powerful you're going to be with your essential oils. So thank you so much for having been here. This has been a lot of fun, and actually, I don't know, kind of easy in a way, because I feel like everybody has aches. And some of the things that I found when I was doing research for this were things that I thought, oh yeah, I've used that in the past, but didn't think to use it now. Please consider following along. If you could give us a subscribe below and a follow on YouTube, and then click the bell and make sure that you are getting notifications. We've had a lot of new subscribers and users and followers. So I just want to say thank you to everyone who's joining us for the first time, and just welcome to our community. We'd love to have you here. Remember, you're amazing. I know you're going to have a wonderful week. Last but not least, for anybody who's celebrating over the weekend, happy Easter, happy Passover. I know it was a big time of celebration. Ramadan is still going on. And for those of you who are celebrating or moving through Ramadan, I want to honor everybody who's here. Have a wonderful week, everyone. And we'll see you back again here next week. For those of you who are live, please stay on. But if you are watching us on YouTube, I'm going to say a fond farewell to everybody who's watching us on YouTube, and we'll be back again here next week. We've already published for the month, at least for the month of April, what are the upcoming presentations, and we'll be posting them in the show notes below. So have a wonderful week, and we'll see you back here real soon.